Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Thursday to you on this October 7th, 2025. I have all of your stories for your rush hour ride home. And on today's episode, we're going to be getting into Candace Owens on the Piers Morgan podcast. They place a $300,000 bet as to whether Candace Owens will be proven right in her lawsuit against Brigitte Macron, or will she be proven wrong? Either way, we'll have to see who's going to be footing that bill. Also, Howard Stern in the news as he's retiring. Donald Trump says good riddance. I'll share what Donald had to say. And then Dean Cain is now an ICE member. That's right. He's joined ICE. The former Superman who played an immigrant on TV is now going to be trying to round them up. I guess that's what his job will be. And then more info on Texas, the redistricting going on. And if you're new to my channel, we have about 20,000 or so new people that found us through the Candace Owens stuff. We're going to get into Candace Owens real shortly, but I like to divide the morning podcast and the afternoon podcast into two parts. We go pop culture, entertainment the first half, and politics the second half. Sometimes they are intertwined given the world that we live in. So if you've caught any of my Candace Owens videos, those are kind of like individual think pieces, opinion videos, and then every single morning, every single afternoon, we have what I like to call the cornucopia of content, which is all of your water cooler stories for the day, everything that you need to know all in one place. We give it to you in a bite-sized format, 25, 30 minutes. So let's dive right into it. Before we get to Candace Owens, how about this? Hulk Hogan's daughter says she wants to personally pay for his autopsy. He passed away a couple weeks ago. She said, "I'm glad to see that my dad has not been cremated and that Sky," which was his latest wife, is waiting because of family questions. With all of the speculation and uncertainty of my dad's death, I want to personally offer to pay for an autopsy if that's what it takes to get it done. My dad's dignity and legacy deserves it. Now, I guess they said had leukemia. She knew nothing about it. They said he died of a heart attack. I'm sure that's what it is. I mean, he's, all these, wrestlers, weightlifters, these big, strong men, the hearts are all built the same size. So, we'll have to see if there's anything nefarious that comes out of that story. And then Howard Stern announced, or I guess I should say he's getting fired. Sirius is canceling their contract. He's been with them for 20 years. The guy's made hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm literally 80 to 120 million per year with his contract. He's, quite frankly, Howard Stern is the most successful radio personality of all time. But Trump says he stinks. Have a listen.
Howard Stern announced that he and Sirius XM Radio are parting ways. Do you think that hate Trump business model that's been in the entertainment business is going out of business because it's not popular with the American people?
Well, it hasn't worked, and it hasn't worked really for a long time, and I would say pretty much from the beginning. Colbert has no talent. I mean, I could take anybody here, I could go outside on the beautiful streets and pick up a couple of people that do just as well or better. They get higher ratings than he did. He's got no talent. Fallon has no talent. Kimmel has no talent. They're next. They're going to be going. I hear they're going to be going. I don't know, but I would imagine because they get, Colbert has better ratings than Kimmel or Fallon. You know that. Howard Stern, it's a name I haven't heard. I used to do a show, we used to have fun, but I haven't heard that name in a long time. What happened? He got terminated?
Yeah, they're going to separate ways because I think what they're offering salary-wise is real low than what he's getting.
You know when he went down?
Whenever you want.
You know when he went down? No, before. When he endorsed Hillary Clinton, he lost his audience.
So, literally, Trump said, if anyone fails in life, he says it's because it's of the people are done with the wokeness or whatever. Listen, say what you want about Howard Stern. I'm not saying he's a good guy. He's done scummy things. He's been a shock jock, but he is the Barry Bonds of radio, right? He is the best to have ever done it. Maybe Barry Bonds is a bad example, but you understand what I'm saying. He paved the way for paid radio, really. Sirius XM was nothing until they brought him in with this massive contract, and he's made hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. So just to say he's a no talent because he didn't endorse you and he turned on you, that's just not true. The guy's in his 70s and he's retiring. You should too. All right, so let's get into this. I'm going to share the Candace Owens update. I get accused left and right. You're biased, Dave. You've got your opinions out. Whatever. I mean, these are my opinions. I watch things and then I consume, I put my critical thinking skills to use and I come up with my thoughts. You know, at first people said, no, you need to watch the docuseries and you can't have an opinion until you watch it. Well, then I watched it. I've now got an opinion and then people come for you. They did the same thing with Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly offered crystal clear legal advice on how Candace Owens may win and why she may lose. And again, I'm no lawyer, and I'm gonna offer my thoughts. But what we have, just like Megyn Kelly came at this with a critical eye, just like Dr. Drew came at it with a critical eye, we've got Piers Morgan coming at it with a critical eye. I'm gonna share Piers Morgan. Candace Owens says that they're trying to smear her. Piers gives his opinion. I'm going to share Candace clapping back. I'm going to talk about the Trump call, crisis PR that was hired, and then we're going to end on the $300,000 bet. So lots to jump into. It's all happening right now. Let's dive into it. Here's the first clip from Candace's interview with Piers Morgan.
Which is really, if you read through the lawsuit against me, they are misrepresenting the things that I've said, taking them out of context, and pretty much smearing me in the process by pretending that we asked something extraordinary by saying we won't run this entire series if you can just show us a few photos of you living in this 30-year period.
Right. I think photos can be easily manipulated. We know that in the modern era. I just think a sex test is definitive. And the reason I'm asking you this...
So he says, why don't you just do a sex test? And she says, we just want to see the photos. So Candace now says they're smearing her, which, by the way, is DARVO 101. DARVO stands for deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. So it's this idea, no, I'm not smearing you, you're smearing me. And it's like, all right, Candace, I mean, are they smearing you? They've made allegations in a court filing that you're going to have the chance to respond to. They've alleged that they provided you all of that information in the December retraction email. She says they didn't, and this is why we have a court system to iron it out. That's right, iron it out. So let's go to Piers. Again, I'm not going to share the first 10 minutes of this because you basically get Candace in the sort of update of what she thinks. It gets kind of hostile, but I think Candace actually enjoys somebody who pushes back. This is why I'd have no problem walking over. I think I live walking distance from Candace. Hey, Candace, how are you? I'll get your mail. I'd have no problem. I'm looking at my window. Hey, I'd have no problem going over there and telling her, like, Candace, I just don't believe. I've watched everything you say. I don't believe it. I don't believe in this grand conspiracy, this giant ring. I don't. I want to protect everybody. I wouldn't want any of these PDF file rings to exist. That's a code you have to say online or you get demonetized. I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. And it doesn't mean I'm a bad dad, because a lot of her defense is I'm a mom and I would never. And I get that, like, wanting to protect other people, but I'm just not there yet. Get me there. Sell me on it. You know what I mean?
For what's happened here.
Sure.
I believe, and maybe I'm wrong, all right? So let me put that caveat at the start here. Maybe you're right, okay?
Maybe I'm crazy.
I don't think you are. I think you've been hoodwinked by these journalists who have gone on a complete fantasy trail of nonsense, trying to suggest Brigitte Macron never had 3 children, is a man, it's all a lie, and all the stuff that you've been doing on your channel and getting huge traffic for and making tons of money. So if you're right, it's been a magnificent display of fearless journalism exposing a bombshell revelation about the First Lady of France. I absolutely make no bones about that whatsoever. But if you're wrong, as I believe, I genuinely believe you're wrong, then it leaves 2 avenues of explanation for why you would pursue this so aggressively. One, you've been duped by these French journalists. And secondly, worse, that you kind of know it's not true, but you've ridden the wave of conspiracy theory about it because it's been so lucrative.
And it could be somewhere in between, right? Assuming that, let's make one assumption. Let's assume Brigitte Macron was born a female, and in all of these allegations are complete hogwash. Let's just take that assumption quick. I think Candace just possesses that muscle or that neuralink in her brain that sees conspiracy when it's not there. That's how I feel Candace might be. She just might be that type of person. They exist. They're in the comment section. How are you? And then there's the cynical people. There's the critical thinking people. And then there's people on the other side. And sometimes the conspiracies are right, and sometimes there's no truth to them, but that juiciness kind of like really triggers that part of the brain that makes us want to believe in something. Candace claps back. She offers her response to Piers, which again is going to be, saying, you're mischaracterizing me. There's more to it than this.
They're watching your show now and they know that you are not accurately presenting what has happened here. But also, Piers, I think you are better than defending a pedocriminal network, right? And that's the biggest piece of the story.
And by the way, and so this is the moment where you lose me, because if you're Candace, you need to be able to defend yourself without saying, if people don't believe me, they're defending this network, right? It's almost like, and I relate this back to Israel, right? The war in Gaza. Many people, including myself, believe that there's mass starvation and there's all these atrocities going on. There's food that's not getting in, the big G word, right? Many of us believe that that's what's happening, and it's an atrocity. If you call that out, it doesn't make you anti-Semitic. You're not anti-Semitic if you're calling out an atrocity committed by another state, the Israeli government. You're not calling out the Jewish people whatsoever. So I've always been hardline in saying, no, I will not be labeled anti-Semitic if I'm advocating for the freedom of a class of people, right? Well, in this case, it's like, don't label Piers Morgan or myself or anybody else a pedo ring enabler because we don't believe the story. That right there, it's like you lose credibility. You can have nuance. You can not believe the story Candace Owens is sharing without being labeled, oh, if you don't believe this, then you must be part of the problem. That's where you lose me, Candace.
Is how many people around them have gone down publicly admitted that they were pedophiles and were involved in this campaign at the beginning. Even if you removed the allegation, which I believe from the bottom of my heart, like I said early on, I would stake my entire career on the notion that she was actually born Jean-Michel Dragnel. I believe that, right? And I'm willing to go through this because it's an important story about government deception. But even if you suspended that, you are right now defending a government that lied even about the beginning of their quote unquote love story.
So I don't think he's defending that whatsoever. And like Piers says, and I would say the same thing, obviously there's some form of grooming and odd, way that relationship started with him being a young teenager and her being the teacher in a position of power. Absolutely. It doesn't make that right whatsoever. But just because that might be true, the grooming and all of that, doesn't mean that this is unequivocal proof that she was born a man.
They're victims, and of
but
course
they're under
it's
no
backfiring.
Obligation. Candace.
Right,
Candace,
they're not, but don't then complain and say you had to file a lawsuit. They contacted us, Piers. You're under no obligation. We didn't reach out to them. They reached out to us first.
Hang on. They say they made it crystal clear to you that all your claims were wrong, right? That your basic premise that she's a man is wrong. They said they told you that before. You went ahead anyway. You've carried on. Even when they launched the lawsuit, you've carried on saying the same stuff, right? And it's a massive play on your part. Listen, I admire your balls. I mean, it's probably the wrong term to use.
So either way, Piers makes his place known, and the comment section's all over the place, but obviously Candace has a huge audience, and I'm not saying that audience is wrong for believing what they believe. I'm just not there. I'm not there. And I think we all need to have grace for each other as consumers of this to say, we're going to have to see how this thing works itself out through the court system, because Candace says she's Candace is convinced, but I haven't seen what they've sent her. If they've only sent her flimsy stuff, then Candace wins. And no, it doesn't mean Brigitte was born a man. It just means they haven't provided, you can't sue and then not provide the evidence to back up the claims that you're making. Let's go over to the Trump call. This is where apparently Trump calls Candace, although she does kind of talk around the actual issue of whether or not she spoke with him. Have a listen.
Donald Trump, in which he tried to get you to drop all this.
Yeah, certainly. I received a phone call, and to be clear, this was on the very same day that Emmanuel Macron visited the White House, ostensibly to discuss Ukraine and Russia. I received a phone call at first from a third party saying that, and what I was told was that Emmanuel Macron, who was negotiating in good faith regarding an end to the Ukraine and Russia war, which would have required his signature on some EU stuff, was holding up stuff because he wanted Trump to speak to me. To get me to stop talking about Brigitte Macron. Again, very odd measure when we already said that we would stop speaking about Brigitte Macron. If you had simply answered our questions, you could have stopped this. And then the next day, or maybe it was within 48 hours, I received a phone call from Trump himself. He obviously was not following the series. He is not someone who I think watches a bunch of podcasting shows, but he said he was very confused when Emmanuel Macron took him to the side of a car and brought this up, asked him if he knew him, asked me to stop speaking about his wife, wanted him to get in touch with me to make that happen. Again, that's an extraordinary effort for a state leader to get on a plane and speak to another state leader to shut up a podcaster in America, when all you have to do to dispel the rumors is to tell the truth and answer the questions.
Interesting stuff. Let's go. 2 more clips to share with you. I mean, it's interesting by all means. Now, Candace says that they hired a crisis PR person, and, I don't have any verification as to if this is true, but it's interesting.
As a PR move, and to be clear, Piers, this is not all that they've done. We have evidence that they hired a crisis PR team here in the United States before I launched my first episode.
But this is the thing, right? You hear this all the time. We have evidence that they did this. Did they? Like where? Like we have evidence that this, person no longer there's all of this. We have evidence that the voice of Veronique is the same voice, but it's like, I just haven't seen the math. I haven't seen the math. And for those of us that need to, look, as someone who makes content, and I don't always get things right, but at least my audience knows I'm checking the numbers before I try to present something. I get stuff wrong all the time. I mean, I have probably 10 different news stories a day. I'm a single person podcaster out here, and I don't have a research team. And every once in a while, something slips through the cracks, and I'm just like, oh, geez, that was fake news. But I try my best, and I always retract things. But I haven't, so I have to make sure that I'm doing my due diligence, that I'm on the right side of this story. And as of right now, I've told people, it's a coin flip for me whether Candace wins this or not, because I don't know and haven't seen the evidence that the Macrons have sent her to prove that Brigitte was born a woman. I haven't seen all of that. So it's a coin flip. Once I see that, I'll let people know my opinion, hit the subscribe button. But let's go to the final wager they're making. They're putting $300,000 bet on the line here.
This is for charity, to $300,000. You haven't accepted that yet. So right now, $300,000 to charity. I say she's a woman. Are you prepared to take that bet?
I'm 1,000% prepared to take that bet. I actually didn't see your tweet, or I would have accepted it live. So
there it is. So a $300,000 bet. We'll follow the court case. We'll follow whether or not either one of them pays up on that bet. And boy, is it interesting. I mean, listen, if Brigitte Macron, here's a scenario. She could prove that she was born a woman, but also lose the defamation case because she wouldn't be able to prove that Candace Owens didn't know it. Candace Owens might be living in a world where she goes, as long as I can convince myself this is true, I am legally protected. I mean, that's what a lot of people, that's how you get off in a defamation suit. You can't prove actual malice. But at the same time, if Brigitte Macron is proven to have been born a woman, she will owe Piers Morgan that $300,000. I don't know if she'll pay it. I don't know if that'll be paid, but either way, we'll have to get that Venmo request from him. Very interesting stuff. Again, I'd be happy to sit down with Candace. I don't think she cares to talk to me at all, but I'd be happy to sit down, and it's like, there's the thing, right? Like, she can recite all of the things she said already, but there is still that massive gray area that just because Brigitte hasn't proven her identity to Candace doesn't mean that Candace is accurate. All right, coming up next, we've got Dean Cain. That's right, Superman himself, Dean Cain, joining ICE.